All right, joining us live from London is Mr. Ashok Sajanhar. Mr. Sajanhar is a former Indian ambassador to Sweden, Latvia, and Kazakhstan. Ambassador, welcome to DD India News Hub. Now, we are approaching the end, or we are moving towards the end of the Prime Minister's visit to Singapore. Did the outcomes of the visit tick all the right boxes for you?
Oh, absolutely. Thank you very much, Ramesh, for having me on your show. Yes, they tick all the right boxes. I think first, the fact that Prime Minister is visiting ASEAN countries, two major ASEAN countries, within about 2-3 months of his third term. I think that sends out a very strong and a clear message that India is keenly interested in strengthening its ties with Southeast Asia, with ASEAN countries, and also in terms of the focus that we have on our Act East policy as also on the Indo-Pacific. I think also if we look at the results of the visits in terms of the documents that have been signed, the meetings that have taken place, I think they are very significant. And since Prime Minister is now in Singapore, I think all the agreements that have been signed, all the discussions that have taken place, this will provide a very strong impetus to bilateral relations between India and Singapore, but not only bilateral relations, but I think geopolitically, geostrategically, this sends out a very strong and clear message. Ramesh.
Ambassador, trade and investment is the central pillar of the India-Singapore relationship. Has the visit served to boost the economic ties between the two countries?
Absolutely. You're very right. Singapore is the largest trading partner and the largest investment partner as far as India is concerned in ASEAN, and even globally. It appears somewhere around fifth or sixth position in this area. But I think now, from the traditional areas, India and Singapore are moving towards more high-tech industry. Even the agreements that have been signed today, the 4-5 agreements that have been signed, one is on financial fintech between the two countries, that I think is going to take our countries forward. Not only is it going to be very significant and important in the area of bilateral trade and investment, but also whether it is digital public infrastructure, it is cyber security, also in the area of education and skill development, in the area of semiconductors. We are going to get much investment into our country. Singapore is a leader as far as manufacture of semiconductor chips is concerned. Also, it is a very significant player globally as far as manufacturing of semiconductor equipment is concerned. It has about 10% of the first in terms of the global market for semiconductor chips, and about 20% for the global semiconductor manufacturing capacity. So in all these areas, India and Singapore will work together. Also, health and family welfare, pharmaceuticals. So there is, all the discussions that have taken place, and there is great seriousness on both sides. This is demonstrated by the India-Singapore ministerial roundtable that had taken place recently, to which Prime Minister Modi also referred in his opening remarks. I think this is a very unusual and very forward-looking initiative that has been taken. 4 ministers from India and 6 ministers from Singapore, they met and they discussed all the possibilities of cooperation and taking the relationship forward. And I think this is the final push that Prime Minister's visit and the discussions and decisions that have been taken will bring a huge push to the bilateral ties.
Ambassador, and last but not the least, I want us to talk a bit, if you will, about geopolitics, the situation obtaining in the wider Indo-Pacific region. Now, given the tension that are prevalent in that part of the world, is there scope for India and Singapore to cooperate in the multilateral arena, possibly in the ASEAN or even at the UN?
No, definitely. As far as ASEAN is concerned, you would recall, Ramesh, that when India and ASEAN entered their um, uh, summit relationship in the early 2000, it was basically Singapore which was at the forefront. You would recall at that time it was Goh Chok Tong who was the prime minister, and he had equated ASEAN to the body of a big aircraft, and he had said on one wing we have China, we need India as the second wing to provide balance and stability and sustainability to the cruising ASEAN aircraft. So Singapore has always been very supportive of India's increasing role in the region. And particularly, I think the role that India is playing in terms of, what Prime Minister Modi in his last visit to Singapore for the Shangri-La dialogue, he had enunciated the principles of our Indo-Pacific policy, the fact that India has been advocating a free, open, inclusive, and prosperous Indo-Pacific. And that, of course, is very important for Singapore because Singapore is such a major global economic player. So, freedom and openness, both of the waters as well as of the skies in the Indo Pacific, South China Sea, or air connectivity, I think that is very important for Singapore. So we are on the same page as far as this issue is concerned. And I think all platforms, whether it is the ASEAN, whether it is the East Asia Summit, or it is the United Nations, I think both countries are cooperating, are collaborating. And this will be to the benefit of both the countries as well as of the region and the world.
Ambassador Ashok Sajjanhar, thank you for joining us and sharing your thoughts and insights with our viewers at home and abroad. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.